It's my pleasure to provide an introduction to today's speaker, Ashraf Habibullah. Ashraf is a structural engineer and is president and CEO of Computers and Structures Incorporated, which he founded in 1975. Today, CSI is recognized globally as the pioneering leader in the development of software tools for structural and earthquake engineering. Would you join me in welcoming Ashraf to the podium?
Welcome and greetings. You know, these are such strange times. I mean, look at me. I'm talking to you from my garage that they've actually converted into a movie set. There's lights, a stage, there's cameras, the whole works. I mean, under normal circumstances, at this point in the convention, we would all be arriving at the CSI party, all dressed up with all of our glitz and glamour, getting ready to party all the way into the night with the Ashraf All-Stars, celebrating this amazing profession and celebrating each and every one of you. But you know what? I know that this is a virtual event, but I don't think there's any reason why this does not also have to be a celebration. So I'm gonna start out by dressing up for it. So here we go. How's that? I've had a lot of time over the past 9 months. You know, I graduated back in 1970, so it's been kind of 50 years since I've been in this profession. So you start thinking about especially the amazing things that have happened in my life. The Structural Engineers Association of California and its members have had such an incredible impact on my profession in shaping my career right from the very beginning. I was lucky to get to know some of the stars of our profession very, very early in my professional life. And it all started with this course that I taught through the UC Extension. Soon after I left campus, working with Dave Messenger and Frank McClure, it dawned on me that a lot of the technology that was being developed was really not being used by the profession. They were still using hand calculators when I joined the profession. So it dawned on me that maybe if I taught a course which bridged what they were doing on campus with what I thought the profession could use at the time, some of the software, some of the programs that Ed Wilson had written, which were just sitting on the shelf on campus and being used by some companies, some engineering firms in the profession, but very few of them. So I approached Ed Wilson, who was the division chair at the time, and I said to him, I would like to do this. He just basically said it was a good idea. It's important to note that till that point in time, I had never taught anything to anybody. So I worked with him, we put together a course outline, and we advertised it. I think it was the fall of 1975. And the course was entitled Static and Dynamic Analysis of Conventional Structures. So I studied all summer long for it. So a week before the class was supposed to start, I called the class coordinator. I asked her, hey Nanette, how many people do we have? And Nanette says to me, you have 187 registered. Usually we get about 30. So we've moved you into the main auditorium in Dwinell, which is a big auditorium on campus. Now I enter the room and there's a sea of people. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And most of these attendees were members of the Structural Engineers Association. I mean, it scared the out of me. My legs were shaking, my hands were shaking. I cleaned that board for like 10 minutes and the board was already clean before I entered the classroom. In the front row, I think there were 6 or 8 ex-presidents of the Structural Engineers Association. And I'm like thinking, are these people here to learn from me? Or are they here to basically say, hey, you little whippersnapper, you advertised this class, now let's see how well you can dance. But they were all just so kind to me. They were patient, they treated me with such deference. And within 6 months of teaching that class, I got to know practically all of the structural engineers in the Bay Area. And then later on in a few years, I got to know many more. And they would call me up. They wanted me to be a consultant to help them with some of the jobs that they were doing. They started using the software. I would take them down to the computer center and we would punch cards together. I would start visiting their offices. And then that's when I quit my job and started Computers and Structures. All of the amazing engineers that guided me, that inspired me and encouraged me to do things that I wasn't even sure at the time I was capable of doing. And all the friends that I have made along the way. And the beauty about it is that all of them, if not all of them, most of them are members of this incredible association. So I thought that this may be a good opportunity to tell you how much regard I have for this association and how much love I have for all of the members that this association represents. We did a seminar recently in the Dominican Republic where 1,700 of you showed up. They had to move the event into a concert hall. And every time we have the seminar, I have the most incredible time with everyone. And we turn it into an event. We take pictures together, we have incredible food, and the seminar actually becomes a party and a celebration. And then in the end, you make me autograph books that I haven't even written. How many books of Ed Wilson, Ray Clough, and Joe Penzine, and Graham Powell have I actually signed? You attend all of our parties. You not only want to come yourself, you want to bring everybody that you know. And every year the party grows bigger and bigger and bigger. This year, the guest list had over 1,600 people. And it was sad that we had to cancel that. And not to say the fact that, you use our software. You, the professionals, have made the company that we are today. Without you, we would be nothing. It's not rocket science. If nobody uses the software, there is no company, there is no product. And of course, the ones I love the most that call us up when the software doesn't work and they tell us that our software sucks, but then they continue to use the software and give us an opportunity to fix it. And they tell other people about the software. Today we license software in 160 countries, and it is all because of the nice things that the members of this association over the years have said about our products. And of course, our gratitude associated with that is limitless. So those that know me know that I really never wanted to be a structural engineer. Growing up in Pakistan, I always dreamt about being a rock star. My dreams would be like to come to the United States, put Elvis Presley out of business, and run away with Mary Tyler Moore. Well, I was just a teenager at the time. When it started to become more obvious that that dream may not be becoming reality, I took my father's advice and became a structural engineer. And of course, that was a very wise decision, considering that my singing talents left a lot to be desired. But you know what? It didn't take me very long to recognize the beauty of this profession and the profound impact that this profession has on humanity. And it actually goes deeper than that, more at a human level. Human beings are created for one fundamental reason, and that reason is to make the life of another human being better. That's the way we are built. It's not religion, it's not something that I've cooked up, it's no voodoo. It's part of our basic constitution. And the beauty about structural engineering is that we make life better for all of humanity on a daily basis. I mean, just look at the things that you do. Your retrofit work, that preserves the past. It preserves our heritage, it preserves our history for all generations to come. And the new work that you do, that builds the future. It makes sure that all of these incredible dreams of buildings and structures that architects and artists dream up, you make sure that they are going to stand. When people that are not structural engineers recognize what we do and understand what we do, my God, they are completely blown away. When people ask me what I do, this is what I tell them. We develop computer models of buildings and bridges in the computer memory. We blow wind on them. We shake them with earthquakes. And the software tells us which portion of the structure is gonna break, so that you can actually fix it before it's even built. They look at you. Man, are you some kind of a genius or what? But you know, isn't that what we do? Yes, it is. But we have a tendency to take it for granted. The beauty about structural engineering is that it's real. You see it all around you. And it is something that is very, very easy to explain. I don't know how many of you have been to New York lately, but there are some really skinny, tall buildings being built there. There are rising up into the heavens like a needle. We make sure people have incredible places to work, but at the same time, they don't sway in the wind and make people seasick. That is your technology. And when you tell them, you give them the concept of what we call tuned mass dampers, telling them that we stick water tanks up at various levels in the structure. And when the wind blows and the structure has a tendency to move one direction, the sloshing of the water moves in the opposite direction and pulls the structure back. And that's the way it doesn't bounce around and sway in the wind. They are completely blown away when they understand that. But the beauty of structural engineering is that it is very easy to explain, because people see structural engineering on a daily basis. It's part of their life. They cross the bridges that you have designed. They work in the buildings that you have designed. You are the reason that buildings don't fall down in earthquakes. You know what happens when an earthquake comes in a region where your technology is not used? Hundreds of thousands of people actually die. But when your technology is used in, say, Seattle, where an earthquake comes, only one person dies. And that too out of fear, out of a heart attack. Nothing to do with the physicality of the earthquake. That is the power of your profession. From my perspective, you're actually in the business of saving lives. People become heroes by saving one life, which is amazing. You hear it all the time. Well, that person saved so-and-so's life. Isn't that amazing? And yes, it is. But also, what is incredibly amazing, to to recognize that your profession saves lives every time the wind blows. You are the reason we actually have an economic infrastructure. If it weren't for you, all of progress of humanity would come to a screeching halt. You design things so that they stand. We in the profession need to recognize that, especially our younger engineers, young professionals, students. It reminds me of going back 30 years when I actually was on a tour, a seminar tour across the United States, and New York was one of those stops. I did the seminar, and there was this young engineer that had come all the way from Argentina to attend the seminar in New York. And in my seminars, half of the time I'm talking about structural dynamics, and the other half I talk about the importance of profession and why I think it's so incredible. So she goes back to Argentina, and 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later, I get this incredible card from her. And it said something which to this day brings tears to my eyes. She says that, she came to New York, attended my seminar, learned a lot about various things, but she said, the day after I came back, I went to work with a renewed sense of passion and purpose associated with what I do. It completely changed the way I perceive my profession as to how important it is and the things that we do. So I'm saying to myself that what have we achieved as educators if we have taught her structural dynamics, mechanics of materials, theory of structures, but we had totally failed to instill in her a sense of enthusiasm and purpose associated with what she does. We have totally failed her. Because what they say is that time will wrinkle your skin, but a loss of passion will wrinkle your soul and turn your spirit to dust. So being enthusiastic and being passionate about what we do is so important. And if we recognize the impact that our profession has on all of humanity, not just today, but going back hundreds of years, the profession gives you a sense of purpose and creates an incredible sense of appreciation associated with what we do. And that's why it's so important to expose the young professionals to the grandeur and the glory that this profession embodies. So, to all of you structural engineers out there, especially you young professionals and you students, you want to know about the impact of your profession on society? Well, consider this. Every monument that is standing out there as a testament to the grandeur of humanity is only standing because of you. And then to recognize the contributions of so many structural engineers that are members of this amazing association, and their contributions that have completely changed the way humanity works. And one structural engineer's name that comes to mind is Ray Clough, and of course his student Ed Wilson, who was my professor. Ray Clough is the inventor or the founder of the finite element method. And most of us structural engineers know what the finite element method is, because it is the method that's used in the analysis of buildings and bridges and all types of different structures. And then there's Ed Wilson, who took the finite element technology and created powerful software around it in the early 70s and gave it away free to everybody all across the world and changed the trajectory of engineering analysis forever. The amazing thing about the finite element method is that it's a method that is used in the design of practically everything that we use as human beings. And it is not used just by structural engineers. It is the method that was developed by a structural engineer, but is used by all disciplines of engineering: structural engineering, mechanical engineering, aeronautical engineering, aerospace engineering. It's used in the design of buildings and bridges, obviously, but it's also used in the design of airplanes that you fly around in. It's used in the design of all the cars that you drive around. It was used in the design of the lunar module that took humanity all the way to the moon and brought them back. It's used in the design of artificial limbs, dentures, or the blades of the blender that made your frappuccino at Starbucks this morning, and something simple as the grooves of a potato chip for maximum crunch. And that's technology that was invented by a structural engineer. His contributions to humanity, from my perspective, are bigger than those of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs combined. We need to know that. That is your technology. You own it. And recognize the incredible contributions that our profession has made. But then also I am aware of the fact that some of you think I'm crazy. And it's true, there's certain things I do say and there's certain things that I do that make people think that way. But on the flip side to that, there's an advantage when people start to think that you're crazy, because then what they do, they allow you a wide latitude of behavior. So when you do some crazy stuff, they will say, oh, you know what, that's Ashraf, he just does that. So essentially what happens then, you get to do basically anything that you want to do, and you are not chained by the constraints of conformity. So you just go out there and just have a good time. And the nice thing about this profession is, especially the members of this association that have just gotten to know me, that you let me do the crazy stuff that I do, you know. I mean, my God, you let me come to your seminars with this lighted jacket. I mean, how crazy is that? You put up with my singing. I mean, at the conventions, we bring the students up on stage and we sing with them. And then all of the crazy thoughts and ideas, I have the comfort of talking to you about them without any reservations. Some of my thoughts and my dreams are crazy. And maybe I am the only one that thinks about some of those things, or maybe everybody thinks that way, but I'm the only person that comes out and talks about them in a lighted jacket on, you know. So I thought maybe I'd talk about a couple of those things. Maybe I'd talk to you about one idea that really bugs me all the time, because there's a lot of stuff, you know, that bugs me. And then maybe I share one of my dreams with you. And then I promise to end. Okay? So, here's one thing that really bugs me. Most of us are familiar with the Intel Inside logo, right? We all know what that is. It's on every computer, right? But every time I look at that, it bugs me. And let me tell you why, because there's a history associated with that. You know, years ago when the IBM PC was introduced in the early 80s, Intel was the company that was providing IBM with the microprocessors that ran the IBM personal computers. But nobody knew about that. Everybody thought of it as basically it's an IBM machine, and Intel, nobody knew that Intel was the company that was actually providing the brains that ran the computer. And that started to bug Intel. And then Andy Grove, the then CEO of Intel, went to IBM and then they said, we're not going to provide any more microprocessors to you unless you put this nice Intel Inside logo on every computer that is shipped Now, of course, IBM thought about it. They had no choice, and they agreed. So now every computer that has an Intel processor, it comes with this round logo on it that says Intel inside. So what has that done for Intel? It's basically now the whole world knows what Intel does and the impact that it has on the computer industry. Now, the question is, why does that bug me? It bugs me because I think we need something like that. I think every building that's built out there, that is designed by a structural engineer, obviously, needs to have a big round logo on it that says structural engineering inside. Why? Because it's only due to the structural engineering that that building is even standing. And then if every building has this, people will know the reason behind the fact that that building even exists. All we have to do is to get together and tell our customers and our clients that we're not going to do any work for them unless they put this big round logo on the building. And if we all decide that that is what we are going to do, they will have no choice but to agree. I mean, where else are they going to go? You are the ones that make the building stand. Without you, there will be no structural designs. There will be no buildings that would be capable of standing. Crazy as it might seem, but I think it's something to think about. That way, everybody will then know what we do as structural engineers, because they will come and say, hey, what does that inside mean? And then you can tell them. Nearly 25 years ago, I co-founded a dance company called the Diablo Ballet. Along with that, we started this organization called the Engineers Alliance for the Arts. And I went to members of this association and tried to recruit them as founding members of the Engineers Alliance. Fundamentally, I wanted to kind of see if we could get the engineering profession a little closely aligned with some art. This ballet company that I actually was board president for over 12 or 15 years. And 300 or so of members of this association gave me $100 a piece and signed up as founding members. I would invite them to the ballet performance. And at the ballet performance, talk about crazy, I would get up on stage and I would auction a copy of SAP 2000 as a method to fundraise. And of course, SAP 2000 at that time sold for $10,000, $15,000. So the bidding would start at 1,000 and it would go up to about 3,000. And the engineers would bid on it, obviously. But all of the other members in the audience, they would my God, what is this SAP 2000? I can buy Windows for $99. So at that point, you would get up there and then give them a little course on what this program was about. You would tell them this is the software that was used for the earthquake design of this auditorium that you're sitting in, so that if there is an earthquake right now, you would actually be able to exit with your legs intact. For people that are not in our profession, when you present what you do in that way, it's clearly to them nothing less than magic. So I have to tell you about this dream I had related to the Structural Engineers Association. I think maybe it was 5 or 7 years ago, I don't really remember. But I dreamt that I was watching television in the middle of the night. It was being announced, the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize nominating committee. And what she was saying was the Structural Engineers Association had been awarded that year's Nobel Peace Prize. So it's not important, the fact that we have not won the Nobel Peace Prize yet, or the fact that we are not even in the running. That's not important. What is important to listen to what she had to say, because it so defines the essence of who we are and what we do. As soon as I woke up, I got a pencil and paper and I wrote them down because I really didn't want to forget them. So I wanted to read to you what she said, because I think we need to know this thing because it really is amazing. So here we go. So this was the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize nominating committee, okay? And this is what she said. For all the buildings that could have collapsed but didn't, for all the bridges that could have fallen down but didn't, for all the dams that could have busted and flooded all of humanity but didn't, for the technology that has saved tens of millions of lives and has spared us from death and destruction, for the technology that has preserved and protected progress and prosperity for all of us today and for countless generations to come. For all that and more, we hereby bestow upon the Structural Engineering Association and all of the professionals that it represents this year's Nobel Peace Prize. So congratulations. How about that? Now, on that note, you know what they say, you always exit on a high note. I don't think the note gets any higher than this. So at this point, I'm gonna end, and I wish everybody happy holidays. Hope you have an incredible time with your family and friends. A very, very happy new year. Let's hope that this virus disappears soon so we can get together in person, and I promise you, it'll be the biggest party that the Structural Engineering Association has ever seen. But until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you soon. Oh, wait, one last thing. At all of our parties, we always have songs. So I thought maybe I would present you with one of my Elvis Presley songs from my teenage years. So here we go. Hey baby, let me be your loving teddy bear. Put your chain around my neck and lead me anywhere. Oh, let me be, oh, let him be your teddy bear. Don't wanna be your tiger, as tigers play too rough. Or don't wanna be your lion, as lions ain't the kind you're loving all. Just wanna be your teddy bear. Put your chain around my neck and lead me anywhere. Oh, let me be, oh, let him be your teddy bear. Woo! So you see why I became a structural engineer instead?